to case study number 4. The topic for this case will be production cost in farming. So after solving our formulas in the input and output case study, the next step is to understand how to categorize each of our costs. It is important to mention that not all costs are the same or will be considered to be the same. This is going to affect the total cost of our production. So the total cost of production of a good, in this case a crop, can be expressed into two cost sections. We have the variable and the fixed cost. It is important to mention that the variable costs varies with the level of production. On the other hand, the fixed costs remain the same no matter if you produce more or you produce less. The formula for the total cost would be total cost equals variable costs plus the fixed costs. This is going to be in Spanish. En el estudio 4, después de haber resuelto las fórmulas en el caso de los aportes y salidas, el siguiente paso será cómo categorizar cada costo. Es importante mencionar que no todos los costos pueden ser considerados iguales. Unos se consideran de una forma y otros de otra, porque esto afecta al final el costo total de producción. Como menciono aquí, el costo total de producción de un bien, en nuestro caso es un cultivo, puede ser expresado en dos secciones. Tenemos costo variable y el costo fijo. Es importante mencionar que el costo variable varía conforme el nivel de producción. Del otro lado, el costo fijo se mantiene igual sin importar si producimos más o producimos menos. La fórmula es costo total igual a costo variable más el costo fijo. So moving on to the variable cost, this is a cost that varies with the level of production. As you can see here, it increases when you produce more goods or services. On the other hand, it's going to decrease when you produce less goods or services. A good example, as I mentioned here, will be seeds. If you have more seeds of a type of crop, you can produce more yield at the end. If you have less seeds, you're going to produce less. So it's like more cost or less costs. We also have land preparation, chemicals, fertilizers, irrigation, and labor. These will be some of the tables we're going to be dealing with in the case study in the Excel workbook. En Spanish, costo variable, costo que varía con el nivel de producción. Incrementa al momento de producir más bienes y servicios y disminuye al momento de producir menos bienes y servicios. Ejemplos, como mencioné, en las semillas. Si tienes más semilla, produces más, pero incrementas costos. Si tienes menos semilla, produces menos y tienes menos costos. Otra opción sería preparación de tierra, químicos, fertilizantes, riegos y trabajo. Then, moving on with the variable cost, this is based on a farming case. Of course, the less acres the farmer is planning to farm, this is going to decrease the variable cost because less costs. On the other hand, the more acres the farmer wants to plant, this is going to increase the variable cost because he's having a bigger range, so it's going to drive to more costs. The formula, the total variable cost is going to be equals the cost per unit times the total number of units. And these are other examples we have, and we'll see on the Excel workbook. Costo variable, basándonos en un caso agrícola, el menor número de acres un agricultor planea cultivar va a ser igual a una disminución en el costo variable. Del otro lado, el mayor número de acres un agricultor planea cultivar, esto llevará a un incremento en el costo variable. La fórmula es costo variable total igual al costo por unidad por número total de unidades. On the other hand, we have the fixed cost. This cost does not change regarding the production. Higher or lower production does not change the cost. Some examples for this type of cost will be the machinery running, in this case, a tractor. We have land rent or the salary. Labor, we have to be considered a salary, which is different than hourly. Moving on, el costo fijo Costo que no cambia respecto a la producción. Alto o baja la producción igual a no hay cambios en el costo. En este caso, el tipo de costo fijo al producir un cultivo sería maquinaria en funcionamiento, tractor, renta de campo o trabajo, considerando que es salario. So fixed cost, the formula, like I said, is fixed cost equals total cost of production. Then here's minus, parenthesis, variable cost per unit times the number of units produced. You will see this on the Excel case study. Costo fijo igual a costo total de producción menos, paréntesis, costo variable por unidad por número de unidades. For last, we have the total cost, which is the total economic cost of production. Also, in economics, it consists of variable cost plus fixed costs. It is important to know that your variable and fixed cost, um, you need to know them in order to analyze how profitable the farm will be if the farmers decide to farm more or less acres. Moving to the case study, so we have a 100-acre farm range, 50 and 100. He has two options. This is the same farmer. First, let's start with the variable cost, which is the sum. All these costs, as you can see, seed, land preparation, chemicals, fertilizers, irrigation, labor. That's going to be the total variable cost. So this is per acre, so we need to know how much it's going to cost for 50 acres. Select your cell and then multiply by 50. That's your variable cost for a 50-acre farm. Now, moving to the fixed costs, it's going to be sum. That's going to be the fixed cost of 50 acres. Now, let's find the total cost, which is your variable plus fixed. We can also check with this formula if our fixed cost is correct by following like total cost production, which is this guy, minus variable cost per unit, which is this, times the number, which is 50 in this case, close parenthesis. That's going to be the total fixed cost, and you can see that's right. Moving to the 100-acre scale, same thing, sum. Of course, you would be like, okay, that's the same cost compared to the 50 acres. In this case, it's different because we need to multiply this times 100 acres. That's going to be the cost, the variable cost of 100 acres, which is the double. Here, sum, as you can see, is pretty much the same, and we can confirm this by using this formula. But first, let's find the total cost. Plus is your variable plus fixed, and that's the total cost of 100 acre. In order to confirm the fixed cost, we're gonna select total cost minus parenthesis this times, in this case, 100. And you can see it's the same. The conclusion here in this case, and as we mentioned before, variable cost is going to vary. You can see the 50 acres, that's the cost for a 50-acre farm. On the other hand, if he produces 100 acres, that's his variable cost. You can see a difference. The more you produce, the more variable cost you will have. On the other hand, for the fixed cost, here, the less he produces, that's the number, is going to be the same as if he produces more than 50 acres. You can see the fixed cost doesn't get affected. And we confirm this with this formula. Everything is correct here. So basically the conclusion is the less you have less costs, the more you have more costs, which are the variable. But we need to consider the fixed costs which are the same no matter the scale you produce.